Hi, all. I just wanted to record a quick overview of when I work to give you some ideas about how I think this tool can be used to schedule teachers for next year. There are some advantages to it that I'd like to walk you through. Specifically, though, the big headlines are it allows us to see immediately what each teacher's schedule is, what the schedules look like across the entire discipline. It also immediately allows us to check for things like conflicts. And it also can be updated so that teachers can see changes in their schedules real time as we get them in. We do have to manually input them into When I Work, but we can do that. And then teachers are able to access it as soon as we've made those changes. So I think there's some good reasons why When I Work might be a tool that we use next year as we look at teacher scheduling. So let me just walk you through what it looks like. And this is going to be one of those weird things where I'm like looking at my second screen while I'm recording on my laptop. So I apologize that my eye contact is going to be a little wonky. What you're looking at here is the dashboard for today's schedule. And these are the TA schedules. So as you can see the folks that are working, you can see what time they're working, and you can scroll through to get sort of a sense of how the day is going to go. Now, if you notice today, everybody's done before 4 p.m. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes we have later classes, but this is a great at a glance look at everybody's schedule. So this is all the schedules. I did create a schedule for the world language teachers, just for world language, but you can see here the flow of their courses beginning at 12 p.m. Obviously, they had other courses earlier today, and you would be able to see that as well. So there's a dashboard feature, right? And anybody coming in has this dashboard feature and can filter by discipline if they choose to be able to see who is working when. There is a scheduling tab that allows you to set up schedules for multiple people. So this is, again, the TA tab, and you can see someone like Cameron Forsyth has 3 separate shifts. Each of these colored boxes here is a shift. It's got the time of the shift, and then within the shift itself, I'll talk a little bit about that later, it's got all the information he needs to show up to that class. So it's got the name of the class, the Canvas code, the Zoom code, the times that it meets. For some shifts, it also has the name of the teacher. I did a schedule just for world language teachers. You might imagine having a schedule for math teachers, for world language teachers, elective teachers. And then as we scale up, those schedules can be more specific. So for example, if at some point we have 30 geometry teachers, there could be a geometry only schedule on which you would put just the geometry teachers, and there might be an algebra schedule and so on. But for right now, for example, you can do all the world language teachers together, right? So this is what their current schedule, the classes they're currently teaching, looks like. And you can see, for example, Anna Medina, the way that her classes meet, she's got 3 on Mondays and Thursdays, 2 on Tuesdays and Fridays, and 1 class on Wednesdays. If I were to go in, say, and this Wednesday class were canceled because it's her Hartford class, maybe there's snow in Connecticut, I can just go in and delete that shift. She'll get a notice immediately to her email and or texted to her, depending on how she sets up her account, that will let her know that that class was scheduled. If I modify the time, the same things happen. She gets an email or she gets a text message telling her that the shift has been modified so that she knows there is some sort of change to the schedule. And you can schedule multiple weeks out. So it's conceivable that you create a template like this with all of the existing classes on it in a particular domain or discipline, and then you schedule multiple weeks out, which allows you to go ahead and correct for known calendar dates, and then as other dates like weather, a shortened day, assemblies, those kinds of things, as they come up, you can also change them here. And again, everybody gets a notification. A couple other features just on this page. I've set it up so that I can filter out by school. So for example, if I just want to see the teachers that are teaching a world language class, let's say at Tulsa, I can go to online instructor, Thurgood Marshall, and you can see which classes are Thurgood Marshall classes. So immediately I know Andrea, Serena, and Tanya teach at Thurgood Marshall. These are their classes. The other blocks that have sort of dotted lines around them are shifts they have at other schools, but the ones that are colored in completely are the shifts they have at Thurgood. So again, if you had to change schedules for some reason, it's very easy to just pull out the people that it affects. Okay. The other piece of this is that from a manager of instruction or a learning team perspective, you can pull out things like you can do a coverage view. So you can kind of see how the whole day flows. For example, if I were Salma and I were looking at this, trying to maybe plan team meetings or times to debrief with my teachers, I can see that on Wednesdays, the latest class in the world language department ends at 2:20. So if I wanted to have a 2:30 world language department meeting, 2:30 on Wednesdays is a great time because nobody's teaching after that. I could certainly go through and, probably find some other holes in times here as well. You can also view this by position. So you can see, for example, how many classes are running at each school. You can see who's teaching those classes. You can see where we don't have any classes yet. That might be a place to expand. You can obviously tell that Tulsa has a bunch. We could be color coding this also by teacher or by school. It just kind of depends on what we decide works best for us. Okay. I also just wanted to show you what it looks like if there is a conflict. So let me go ahead and pretend, say we're adding a new class tomorrow. So you just add a shift. We're going to say that this shift is from 10 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. And you can color code things. You can add what position. That's how you sort. A job site, you can add shift notes. That's where I've been putting Canvas, Zoom, the times of the class every week, the name of the teacher, those things. You can save these as shift templates, which means that we can then use the same shift templates for any TA or tutor schedules that work, that are at the same schools, which cuts out quite a bit of work and makes this a lot more efficient. So let's just say I would fill this in if I were really adding this shift to a schedule, but for the purposes of argumentation right now, let's just say this is the shift from 10 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. So when I save that, it shows up here in open shifts, which means it hasn't been assigned yet. As I move through the teachers, I'll get a little red pop-up if it doesn't work with that teacher's particular schedule. So you can see if I try to give this to Anna Medina, the red exclamation point pops up, but also if I drop it onto her schedule, you'll see this little red corner telling me it doesn't work for her. It conflicts with one of her other classes. So then I could pull it down to Andrea. Doesn't work for her either. When I pull it down to Emily Zimmerman, you'll see that it gets a green check mark. So if this were a real class, this class would fit with Emily's schedule. And I can just drop that shift into there and then assign it to her. If I go on to Kayla, it doesn't work. Rebecca, it doesn't work. It would work with Serena. It doesn't work with Tanya. It would work with Xiaoji. So you can see which shifts work with which teachers and kind of gauge their availability. The other piece is that you can tell what capacity teachers are being utilized at. So this is the number of hours per week the teacher is actually in class. So you can kind of get a gauge of who might have a little bit more capacity than somebody else. The other piece of this is it's super easy to assign subs. When you assign subs, that shift shows up on their schedule, and then they have all of the information they need to be able to run the class, the Canvas number, the Zoom link, the times of the class throughout the whole week. Anybody who is a user can only see their schedule. We have some, leeway with the way that we set this up. But someone like a manager of instruction or a learning ops team member can have sort of managerial powers, which allows them to assign shifts, move shifts, and change some of the other settings, which I think is also key. At any rate, I can certainly talk about this a little bit more, but I feel as though this would give us what we need for at least the next chunk of time. I'm thinking at least a couple of years, unless we sort of have some sort of massive growth. Um, if we're talking about, say, under 100 teachers, it is certainly, even really under 200, it's certainly doable with this system to schedule them all within when I work and go from there. Let me know if you have questions, if you want me to schedule a live call with you maybe next week. I'm happy to do that as well, just to kind of walk you through how when I work works, so you can see some of the other features. But the more that I look at this, the more convinced I become that this is actually a great tool to handle the teacher scheduling and matching piece of what we're doing. The other, just sort of another caveat, is that you can download all of these things. Um, if you export it, you have a couple options, but you can certainly download into a file, a spreadsheet file, um, and then that can be imported to any one of a number of tools. Let me just pull it up and I'll slide it into your view. There you go. So this actually happens to be all of the TAs as well as what I was just showing you, but you can see their schedules. You can see, for example, the world language schedule that I was just showing you, the total number of hours. You can also see the times everybody's teaching. So it may be possible, and this is a place to do further investigation, to pull this into QuickBase even, to use as another one of the tools that we've already established. At any rate, again, let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to walk you through some of the things that it does. I'm sort of investigating over the next couple of weeks the use of the spreadsheets and then what we can do from them in terms of QuickBase and Google Sheets and those kinds of things. So I hope this helps, and I appreciate